William Booth could not close his eyes to the despair and degradation of the poor. He had eyes only for the people. He saw them crowding into the beer shops and gin palaces, drunk, poverty-stricken, and dying. Could he not do something for these lost sheep? In 1865, Reverend William Booth left the Methodist New Connection and began bringing the gospel to the masses of London's East End slums. He did not plan to found a church, but his converts did not feel comfortable in the established churches. So Booth founded the East London Christian Mission. In 1878, Booth was reading a printer's proof of an annual report. Its title was The Christian Mission, a Volunteer Army. With sudden inspiration, Booth crossed out Volunteer Army and penned in Salvation Army. This army was furnished with uniforms, flag, and brass bands. Ministers became officers, members, soldiers, the mission's corps. And William Booth became the first general. On March 10, 1880, Commissioner George Scott Railton and 7 young women officers strode off a ship in New York Harbor, knelt in Castle Garden, and claimed America for God and the Salvation Army. William Booth was called a dreamer by many of his contemporaries, but his vision and purpose brought into being a balanced ministry, giving heed to both body and soul, a total ministry for the total man. Today, the Salvation Army has a nationwide network of programs and facilities working for the betterment of all mankind. Men and women who have problems coping with the stresses of life turn to the Adult Rehabilitation Center. Residents receive counseling and spiritual guidance. Through a work therapy program, renovated items are sold through the Army's family thrift stores. Burned out, stranded, traveling, domestic quarrel, the Emergency Lodge provides professional counsel and temporary shelter. Residential programs for children and youth offer help to the unwed mother, the runaway, abused, and neglected child. Correctional services provide both spiritual and material aid to prisoners and their families. Thousands of children and senior citizens discover sunshine, fun, and fellowship through the Army's camping programs. Each Christmas, the Salvation Army, through its Letter Appeal and Kettle program, provide food, clothing, and gifts to needy families, the lonely, the homeless men and women. When disaster strikes, the Salvation Army is there. Special emergency teams and canteens are on the scene, promptly bringing food, clothing, and providing temporary shelter. A worldwide service, the Missing Persons Bureau reunites thousands of men and women with their families and helps effect reconciliations. The League of Mercy, the friendly voice of the Army visitor who brings gifts and quiet prayers to the sick, the lonely, the elderly, and those behind prison walls. Senior citizen clubs, hot lunch programs, craft classes, recreation, and travel all offer the senior citizen an opportunity for a new friendship, a sense of belonging, and continued growth. The Harbor Light Alcoholic and Drug Abuse Rehabilitation Program reaches out to the compulsive drinker and drug addict. Individual medical, psychological, and spiritual help is given. As the heart of Salvation Army service, the Core Community Center carries significant responsibilities for spiritual and social ministry in the community. Within its walls, a place of worship where young and old are led to a close relationship with Jesus Christ. Music enhances our worship and praise. Character-building activities for youth. Leadership training. Recreation. Senior citizens clubs. Fellowship and interest groups for adults. A welfare and referral center for troubled and needy. Activity never stops as people of all ages, all walks of life, receive a balanced ministry to both body and soul. This balanced mission is carried out by the Salvation Army officer. It's a demanding life. Minister, teacher, administrator, social worker, counselor, youth leader, musician. The Salvation Army officer is all things to all people.
As a Salvation Army officer, I'm called on by the nature of my responsibilities to have jurisdiction over everything from public relations and properties to bequests, endowments, finance, program. Things like special efforts such as Christmas, Easter, and Thanksgiving. As a Salvation Army officer, there is no way that I can effectively be prepared to handle all those areas with expertise. Just impossible. Our advisory board, by the fact that each member specializes in one field and has been selected from a cross-section of many different backgrounds of expertise within the community, is able to advise and assist me in the day-in, day-out operations of the Salvation Army, so that we handle matters such as property with a professional approach.
The Salvation Army officer is not alone in meeting the spiritual and social needs of the people he serves in today's community.
As an attorney, Bill is my instant resource to any question involving legality for the Salvation Army. Bill is not only an attorney who has the answers, he is an attorney in my community. Walt and I got our heads together through his suggestion that his staff artists and photographers work on some layouts. What eventually transpired was a professional annual report. Marie is actively involved in a number of phases of social work in our community and has a serious involvement with her church. She has a keen awareness of all that is happening. She has a love for people just because they're there. When you bring that kind of social service and spiritual background to the advisory board, it is invaluable. Mike is tuned into the fact that the Salvation Army is a part of his life. When he sees something that deals with fundraising or something that assists us to bring down the cost of processing of dollars and running our books, he calls me. John's ability in major corporate business is most helpful to the Salvation Army. So often we look at too small of an angle, and John has the ability to sit in meetings and serve on committees and look with a much broader, bigger view of the Salvation Army and what we're doing than we do. Elaine is the Director of Planning and Development for a mental health center. She knows the community in a very broad sense. We have to have a keen insight into the people we're serving and assistance in our own staff development. Her professional background in staff education and training is a tremendous asset to our board. John's professional background in the medical field helps us to address issues on public health with some understanding. He has a willingness to be involved on the board and channels much energy towards that responsibility.
The Salvation Army officer brings his dedication, service, and all that his uniform represents into the community. He needs the assistance of all kinds of people. As an active board member, you will advise the Army on significant issues. Assist the Army in carrying out its programs. Act as a liaison, communicating Salvation Army programs and objectives to the community, and informing the Salvation Army of the real problems and needs that the community faces. You'll set and reach operating fund goals to sustain a Salvation Army program that your community can be proud of. You'll make recommendations with respect to fundraising, public relations, program and expenditures. Serve on committees wherever your talents, interests, and enthusiasm can best be applied. Seek out individuals who can be of special assistance to the Salvation Army. Assist the Salvation Army to coordinate its programs with other agencies in the community.
The job of being a member of an advisory board is a big one and should be taken seriously. It takes time and talent and a knowledge of the community and its people. It also calls for a commitment to the Army and its work. We are prone to recruit new board members by telling them that it amounts to only a meeting a month. For the Army to continue to succeed in these communities, we must expect a great deal more than this from our board members, and they should expect to give more.
I was interested in community service, and it looked to me that the Salvation Army was one of the most active and most involved community organizations, and I feel that it is an important part of the community. So when I was asked to join the advisory board, I was really happy to be able to become part of the Army. I feel that it is an important opportunity to serve with other similarly motivated people throughout the community.
I think one of the best things about being on the board is that we get a great deal of pleasure working with people whom we know are dedicated and successful. It makes you feel good to do something that you know is going to work for the benefit of others.
Having lived in the community for a number of years, I've seen what the Salvation Army has done. I know many members on the board, past and present, and have respected them and the organization they represent. I thought that perhaps I could make a contribution to what they would be doing in the future.
The Salvation Army is nothing new to me. One of the reasons that I became a board member of the Salvation Army was we are in the same key. They believe in helping people, and so do I. When I was asked to be a board member, I thought it was a great honor, a great compliment. There is unity there among the members, among the staff, and among the officer. I would call it an extended family instead of a board.
People from industry and commerce can bring a lot of advantage to the Salvation Army in their opinions and point of view, and the fact that they are a hinge pin for raising capital. There's a lot of opportunities for that, and I think that being able to do that gives me personal satisfaction.
I'm proud to be a member of the Salvation Army Advisory Board. I'm proud that it's kept pace with the times and has found more of a role for people of different backgrounds to participate. I think that possibly the image of the Army to persons who have not had direct contact with it may be far different than those who get inside and work with it.
Get inside and work with it. The Salvation Army Advisory Board will give you the opportunity to uphold your share of community responsibility, have fellowship with other community leaders, work for a dynamic organization. It takes all kinds of people whose talents and position in the community furnish valuable service to the Salvation Army Advisory Board. It takes all kinds of people. It takes you. You are needed. You can help. You and your community will be better for your efforts on the Salvation Army Advisory Board.